Shalom. Call Halim. Call Halim La Yahweh Bashem. Yahweh Shai Bashem Rakakwadash. The honors of the elders and apostles, a great millstone who rule and teach well. And sincere shalom to 144,001 Now, this came to my attention that this is confirmed data. Not he say, she say. Not a rumor, not speculation. Dive straight in. Yes, the U.S. recently recorded a period of net negative migration, meaning more people left the country than arrived. Analysts and census data, and census is going off, by the way, specifically for the Israelites. Satan hopped on King David. He did a census. Yahweh punished the kingdom for that census. Let me see if I can find that. Yeah, right here. This is First Chronicles 21:1. And Satan stood up against Israel and provoked David to number Israel. And David said to Joab and to the rulers of the people, "Go number Israel from Beersheba even to Dan, and bring the number to them, that I may know it." There you go. So doing a census, you're going off. All right, you ain't supposed to number the children of Israel. Okay, and guess what? Esau, he of course, all the Israelites are scattered throughout the four corners, so there's no real way. Even at that time with David, there was no real way. But guess what? Even attempted is going off. That's not of Yahweh's will on the right hand side. Analysts and census data indicate this is the first time the U.S. has experienced this trend since the Great Depression. The past couple of years, there's been a lot of disastrous things that haven't happened since the Great Depression. The tariff rate with Trump narrowed. Then you got this migration. It is going to be much more. Sharp drop in inflow. Immigration numbers in the U.S. have dropped significantly due to policy changes and shifts in global migration patterns. Rise in American immigration. A record number of U.S. citizens are moving overseas, especially in the younger generation, under 30. They going to Brazil. They going to Thailand. They going to Indonesia, right? They going to Kenya. They're getting up out of here. They're leaving for these other countries. And Babylon, before the internet got real big, Babylon has propagandized these other countries, saying that, oh, they're dangerous. Go there, you're gonna get robbed and never seen again, right? But a good portion of these countries in the world are safer than Babylon. There's significantly less murder, crime, home invasion. This is Jeremiah 50:16, and it reads, "Cut off the sword from Babylon, and him that handleth the sickle in the time of harvest." Yeah, so these the infrastructure, the 3-day delivery for food, these farmers, they're gonna get trodden down. They're not gonna be able to generate crops. For fear of the oppressing sword, they shall turn every one to his people. So there you go. These devils are gonna get extremely radical, draconian. Turn everyone to his people. What? So that's people fleeing. If you're you got ancestry in Ghana, you're gonna dip to Ghana. You got ancestry in the Philippines, you're gonna dip back to the Philippines. People are fleeing. They're fleeing even now, and it's gonna keep going. It's gonna keep increasing. It's not gonna stop. and they shall flee every one to his own land. There you go. So people are gonna start dipping out of here even more, significantly more. It's gonna get worse. It's not gonna get better. It's gonna keep getting progressively worse. So this is Jeremiah the 51st chapter. Jeremiah 51 and verse 12. Set up the standard upon the walls of Babylon, make the watch strong, set up the watchmen, prepare the ambushes. For Yahweh have both devised and done that which he spake against the inhabitants of Babylon. So this place is going to get trodden down. These people aren't going to be able to survive what's coming. You know, they're not going to survive these nukes. They're not going to survive this invasion. They're going to get put to death. Starting with you Edomites. You know, you Edomites are the main ones that's going to have your bloodshed. I'm going to jump up to verse 9. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her. Let us go everyone to his own country. There you go. People are going to leave. And you're going to have people going to countries that they don't necessarily have any lineage to. You know, you could just, find some good money. And you like, yeah, screw it. I want to go live in Brazil. I saw one Jake, Southern Kingdom Jake. He got some success, and he was like, screw it, I'm going to Brazil. Right? He went to Brazil. You know, the women in Brazil are very beautiful, and it's a lot of Southern Kingdom in Brazil. Has a very large population of Southern Kingdom Jakes in Brazil. So you know, he blended right in. He got fluent in Portuguese. Pretty sure he got permanent residency on the way to citizenship. Yeah, Jake is dipping out. Jake is like, screw it. I can go to Brazil. I can go to Japan. You even had that one wicked Jake. What's his name? NBA young boy. He dipped out to South Korea. And he said, yeah, I ain't coming back to Babylon. You know, of course, he ain't say it verbatim. He said the U.S.A. He said, I'm never in my life coming back. He's saying he cooling out in South Korea. And I looked it up because I'm like, you know, why would this dude choose South Korea? And I found out that I think you get like $3 million. You get permanent residency because you have different ways of being able to live in a country. You got permanent residency, then you have citizenship. So permanent residency, you can essentially live in that country indefinitely and have essentially the same rights as citizens, or almost the exact same rights as citizens. But the thing is, you can live there forever. And then after 3 to 7 years, depending on the country, but typically within 5 years of living there continuously, you get citizenship. But even if you don't consistently live there for those 5 years or so, they still technically, you know, can't kick you out the country. And you, depending on the country, you have the same rights as the citizens there. The only difference is that you just don't have the passport. So in South Korea, with like about $3 million, you get instant permanent residency. So I was like, oh, we probably got permanent residency in South Korea. So you gonna have, and then you have, what is his name, Lenny Kravitz. He might be an Edomite. I don't know. His father's an Edomite. I can't say. I never heard a song from him. I just saw a documentary about him. I don't know, mid early 2000s. Some over 20 years, or give or take. He dipped out to Brazil. So a lot of these Jakes, they ain't really rocking with Babylon. And I saw more data. Probably not gonna be able to find it, where it said about 20% of Americans are wanting to leave the country permanently. Cost of and quality of life. Those leaving frequently cite high domestic living costs, housing affordability, healthcare concerns, and safety issues as primary motivations for relocating abroad. Yeah, you could, if you can score a job online, making, I don't know, at least 50, 60K a year, and you go live in Indonesia or somewhere like that. I mean, you're living pretty good. You're like top 1% income earner in those countries. You can get a home and all these other benefits. And then if you're not that wealthy that you can buy permanent residency, you can find a woman, okay, that you enjoy, and she enjoys you, and you get married. Then you get citizenship after a couple years. Some countries you get, like Cape Verde, you get instant citizenship if you get married and live there. Cape Verde is off the coast of West Africa. They're not, those are just Jakes mixed with Edomites, the Portuguese. So yeah, a lot of people are getting up out of here. They packing their bags and dipping. Let me see if I can find some more. Let's go to this WSJ article. I don't. Yeah, probably. All right, let's go to Fortune. Probably still have to have that paywall. I'm pretty sure. Nope. Let me see if there's more in-depth information about it. A record number of Americans are leaving the U.S. The country saw a net negative migration of between 10,000 and 300,000 in 2015, 2025, Slovakia. With Brookings' estimation that between 210 and 400,000 people did so last year. First time 50 years, Great Depression, blah, blah, blah. A majority, 89%, said they want to leave the U.S. for political reasons, according to a sample of 218 of the weekend's attendees per Barnett. Others say they hope to move for adventure and growth, as well as to save money. Roughly two-thirds of respondents hope to move within 2 years. They have an average monthly budget of $3,800 to work with, and hopeful movers are split among 44% individuals, 39% couples, and 17% family and kids. So if these are Edomites, because Esau got a little bit more money than Jake, so guess what? They can go places that are a bit more expensive, a bit more safe, like somewhere up in Europe, especially if they have ancestry there, right? Jake, when they get a little money, they ain't trying to go to Europe. Jake going to Latin America, Jake going to Africa, and Jake going to Southeast Asia. Okay, and you got a lot of Edomites going to Southeast Asia too. You just had some Edomites get banned from Indonesia for a run club in Bali. They were Dutch, which is I forget which country is called the Dutch. Might be Denmark, something like that. In Denmark, they they had a run club. Now I wouldn't necessarily say it was racist. I don't know. I think it was more so like nationalist, if you will. Accepted foreigners in the run club. So it could have been Jake's in the run club. It could have been other so-called Southeast Asians in the run club, but no Indonesians were allowed in the run club, which is insane. You're a foreigner in a country banning the citizens of that country to join your run club. So they got ran up out of there. And then I'm pretty sure they blacklisted them, passports and whatever else from going back to Indonesia. So this article you can see is just diving into more of those details. Let's get a few scriptures. I'm gonna wrap this up. Job, the 20th chapter. Job, the 20th chapter, and verse 24. He shall flee from the iron weapon, and a bow of steel shall strike him through. So guess what? Esau is already fleeing from that iron weapon. A lot of they said what political reasons. What is a major political shift happening right now? Trump messing around with Iran, and Iran is saying, "Hey, we building missiles to hit your homeland." You know, and people that aren't delusional, they're not extremely filled with pride and arrogance. They're gonna take that seriously. They're gonna be like, "Oh, Iran is building missiles to hit Babylon, hit our country, and we have no reason to be doing this to them besides the tiny tops." The whole world knows it now. It's not a theory. The tiny tops, small hats with the big noses, okay, they control this place. They control America. They control Babylon. The least of the flock shall draw them out. So guess what? That's political. So they see that. They see, oh, I don't want my kids. I don't want to be drafted for the war. That's what they're thinking in their minds, right? So they dipping out. They got, they extremely wealthy. They probably trying to go, and if they're smart, they're probably not going to try to go to Europe because of Russia. Probably going to try to dip out of Latin America, Argentina. That's where them tiny tops trying to go. The tiny tops, they trying to dip out of Argentina. Let's get and that boy Steele was talking about them nukes, okay? Them ICBMs in specific, intercontinental ballistic missiles, which by the way the US does not have hypersonic ICBMs, but Russia does, and Russia's allies, I believe North Korea has them, China too. And Babylon the Great has no defense, no effective defense for hypersonic ICBMs neither. So Yahweh has set up these Edomites to be taken out by the technology above the technology they have. This is Isaiah 13th chapter, and in verse 14, verse 13. Therefore I will shake the heavens, and the earth shall remove out of her place. What's this talking about? The nuclear destruction and the wrath of Yahweh of hosts in the day of his fierce anger. And it shall be as the chased roe, and as a sheep that no man taketh up. Then shall every man turn to his own people, and flee everyone to his own land. So when these missiles start flying, because it's gonna be missiles flying before the nukes. Okay, it's gonna be, and when I mean nukes, I mean that nukes that hit Babylon the Great. All right, to wipe this place out in what, an hour or less than an hour. So guess what? You're going to have other missiles flying, hitting other parts of the world, getting busy before Babylon is finally destroyed. And people are going to be fleeing. They ain't going to want no parts in that. Seeing a volley of missiles in the sky, blowing up city blocks, wiping out cities. And they see it, right? They in the town over, and they see smoke going up. Because, let's say Miami got wiped out, and you're in like Fort Lauderdale or somewhere just outside the city limits of Miami, and you see Miami's cooked. People gonna hop in their boats and dip out. They gonna hop in their boats and go to Cuba or Jamaica or wherever. They gone. They ain't want no parts. Okay? So with that, shalom.